Well, happy Thanksgiving, America. And if you're like me, you spent the day watching football. Why football? Because it's either that or talking to your family. Plus, after a huge meal, who has the energy to watch porn? So listen, since we've got you in a sports-watching torpor, and since this year all the Indians were booked, we thought it was time we passed our nation's pastimes under the politically incorrect microscope, so stay where you are, as if you could do otherwise.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher.
All right, let us meet our panel of sportsmen. He is an internet zillionaire, venture capitalist, and the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban. Mark. Hey. Hey, Bill. How are you doing? Coming by. He is a 12-year veteran of Major League Baseball and the host of Todd TV on Fox Sports Net from the National League champion New York Mets, first baseman Todd Ziele. Todd. Hey, how you doing? I'm good, thank you. How you doing, Mark? He is a broadcaster, sports writer, and the popular host of the Keith Olberman Evening News Sundays on Fox Sports Net. And you also went to Cornell, didn't you?
Yeah, you betcha.
So did I. Keith Olberman, right over here. That's right, Big Red. And in this corner, he is the reigning heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis. A lot of testosterone here, huh? Just like the East German women's team.
Thought I'd lost some weight, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're here.
I figured.
Todd. Only because, you know what, I grew up in New Jersey. We talked about this when the Mets and the Yankees were in the World Series. I grew up rooting for the Mets and the Yankees. I found it hard to do after a lifetime of pulling for these teams because it was like rooting for Microsoft versus General Motors. I felt like most of the teams in the league never had a chance to get to the World Series because they didn't have the dough. And you're an owner.
Yeah, I am.
You got the dough.
I'm ready to pay.
And you're bought the Dallas Mavericks?
Uh-huh.
That's going to take a lot of dough.
Hey now.
So what do you say to a fan like me who is just so turned off by the idea that the major leagues, in most every sport, are now just major leagues and minor leagues who don't have a chance, so why bother?
Most people aren't just like you. The people that email me and then I talk to
sheep.
No. Hey, you know what? People come because they love the beauty of the sport. They come because they like to watch Todd Ziele bat. They like to watch Lennox Lewis fight. They like to watch Michael Finley shoot and play basketball.
They like to win. And they have no chance of doing it, mostly. In Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Montreal, I could name most cities that are...
It's always been like this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's always been like every Yankee championship is based on buying players from other teams, dating back to Babe Ruth. And it's not just throwing the money on the table. You have to know what table to throw it on. Ask Todd.
Ask the LA Dodgers.
He went through the Dodgers when the spending there, and that worked out well.
I agree that it's a little disillusioning, I think, for fans because the guys change positions so much, change teams, and it's tough to get affiliated with like a group of guys. You have to kind of be affiliated with the team. But I think that there's always been losers. It's not like there's been a time when you're seeing repeats over and over and over again. Just
you're
in
not
this
seeing
sport.
repeats
For the Yankees. Yeah, but the Yankees, are the modern day dynasty. But they had a dynasty for the last 100 years. The 25 championships, a quarter of the time. That's not exactly shared wealth.
Well, I never bought into the argument that because we used to do it badly before, it's good that we do it badly now.
Well, what's the suggestion? What do you do to change that
Well, I don't know.
Well,
That's
it's about
not
the
my
money.
business.
It's not just about the money.
I'm just saying, as a fan.
It's my business. It's not just about the money. You have to spend it smartly, too. It's really easy just to throw your money away. I mean, there's lots of teams out there that have spent, you know, $15, $20 million contracts and got nothing back in return.
You can spend money and also be stupid. That's your point, and that's true.
And that's the essence of sports.
That does not negate my point, which is if you don't have money, you have no chance whatsoever.
So
the Minnesota Twins are not in the league. They're not in the championship hunt as of opening day.
Well, baseball isn't the only sport that's being played. There's plenty of other sports where teams that aren't leading the league in revenue generated are doing well. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys probably aren't going to win this year. They are probably the #1 or 2 generating revenue team. It's not just about the money.
Like I just said, you can be spending a lot of money and also be dumb.
So what about the Packers? The Green Bay Packers. Green Bay, Wisconsin is a town the size of Midland, Texas.
Yeah.
It's had an NFL franchise for 80 years, and it's won the Super Bowl 7 times, and in each different kind of era in football, because the money has been wisely spent, community-owned, and they have revenue sharing among the owners. Revenue sharing among the owners is the balancing factor. It's not the players' fault. It's not the fans' fault. It's when the owners can get together and
2 years ago.
spend some money.
San Antonio put together a championship team. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
You're right. Once in a while, like, some team sneaks in. But the truth of the matter is that most of the cities I named, and I could name 20 more, are just not in it. They're minor league franchises, and they don't have a chance.
But the point is, what do you suggest to do for them? Is it subsidize the Minnesota Twins so that they can win a World Series so the people of Minnesota can be happy on occasion?
Well, when you came on the market, did you consider the Minnesota Twins?
I didn't come on the market. Only the last couple of years I did. I went to a team that was going to win.
And I don't blame you. A team that had money.
Of course.
I'm not blaming you.
But look at the Mavericks now. Different industries. Baseball without a salary cap is a different world. Look at basketball. It does have a salary cap, so there's more than just money.
That they ignore.
No.
Where was Shaquille O'Neal played in Orlando.
Right.
He got real good. Where'd he go? L.A. Did he go to Minnesota? I don't think so.
Yeah, but look what they did in Minnesota. But Phil, what did they do? In Minnesota, the Timberwolves signed Joe Smith to the most creative, original contract. Mark, you'll have to admit this.
Who did they sign?
Joe Smith.
Do we know Joe Smith? Is that his real name? That's the name I signed in a hotel, by the way. Who is Joe Smith?
It was the man who was paid with $1,000 bills under the seat.
Joe Smith?
In $97 million off the record.
$97 million off the table. They took away 5 #1 picks.
Now that's the kind of creativity we need in the small market franchise.
Yeah.
We did that in baseball.
And where are the Timberwolves?
Well, because they got caught doing this, they just lost 5 draft choices and Joe Smith, and the owner has been suspended for,
But they still have Kevin Garnett.
So they have no good players,
no
draft
they have
choices,
Kevin Garnett,
and no owner.
They didn't do it right.
I think it's a really optimistic, unrealistic viewpoint to think that, you know, at spring training, everybody goes to spring training thinking their team's going to be the one that wins the World Series that year. Speaking of baseball.
Come on.
You know what, guys still do, even though you can read about it and you think about it because you think we got a young core of guys and we're talented and we're going to do it this year. And, you know, maybe 20 games in, you realize that there's no chance of that. But what's the alternative? The alternative is to do what? As I'm saying, either those teams that can't compete shouldn't have a franchise, or you can share revenue amongst the owners so that those teams can be on a more even playing field. But the ownership has to get together to do that, and we've been trying to get that happening over the last 10, 12 years, at least that I've been aware of. And, you know, why would Steinbrenner want to share what he's got with one of his competitors? That's
the team that came closest to eliminating George Steinbrenner this year is the Oakland A's, within 1 victory of defeating them. And the Oakland A's collectively make less money than Lennox does.
And they didn't.
They do.
I predict there's going to be a team that's going to win it all, that is the lowest team that don't create any money and just has all the talent. Unseen talent.
Well, obviously, you're not American. We have to take a break. We'll be right back.
Join us tomorrow when P.I. talks to the daughters of legendary musicians, including Carly Simon and James Taylor's daughter, Sally, Rod Stewart's daughter, Kimberly, Ron Wood's daughter, Leah, and John Phillips' daughter, Bijou.
All right, we have representatives from, well, you're not from football. I wish you were. Then we'd have football, basketball, baseball, and boxing, which I all consider sports. But, you know, a lot of stuff that I don't consider a sport, like golf. Listen to this. There's a guy... who wants to play. He's in a motorized wheelchair, and he is complaining that the course does not do enough to accommodate him. Now, I don't play golf. I don't think golf's a sport. I think it's like running around the block. You know, it's an insult to lawns. But my friends who play golf say this guy should not be allowed because they say it would screw up the greens.
Golf course is a good use of land anyway?
No,
it's
not to me.
So why? So what's the difference? If you leave a few tracks, they'll fix it in the morning. They'll spray something else on, and the people behind them have to have 3 more beers and smoke 2 more cigars. So the problem is where? If they're actually being delayed by this guy, what's the difference?
Well, I don't know. As I say, I don't play golf. I think it's a sport for people who want to get away from their wives. But if you... if it means a lot to you and you're on the green and you're trying to make your putt because that's going to make your day, and it gets screwed up because there's a track there from a wheelchair, I could see why that would not be good.
Yeah, but there's other things to watch out for, you know, natural things like a squirrel making a nest or something, or somebody...
A squirrel making a nest?
Yeah, you never know. There's
in the hole?
There's big rocks involved, all different things involved when you hit a golf ball.
Now, is this why you went into boxing? Were you originally wanted to be a golfer? Was that?
Well, I actually did try it, but I'm still kind of powering the ball too much. I just want to whack it too much.
I hate golf.
Just taking that extra time. I don't think that having the guys on the golf course is going to make that big. I don't think the handicapped golf traffic is going to be that severe. The golf courses have to worry about maintenance problems. I don't think that's the issue. I think to accommodate, I mean, I think for him to ask to be accommodated for specifically, I think is a totally different subject.
I just don't understand why everybody has to do everything. I think, you know, whatever your situation in life, we all have handicaps of one way or another. You know, God is telling you to channel your efforts towards something that is more...
But you know what else we're being told? We're being told to test limits as well.
Who?
And
by who?
All of us, in all scenarios of our lives. But we're all taught to say, okay, we may have this challenge, but see if you can get past it. And it doesn't hurt to ask the question, let me on your golf course, please.
I got to take another commercial. We'll be right back. All right, let's talk a little about your sport, boxing, because I guess as long as Mike Tyson is still around and fighting and in the game, people are going to want you to fight him. Show this. This is a little bit of one of Mike's press conferences. His press conferences should be a series into themselves because the things.
Many things. Yeah, I'm a convicted rapist. I'm a hellraiser. I'm a father, a loving father. I'm a semi-good husband.
Now that's an example of a disabled person making
I got to
a kid,
give
right?
Mike the politically incorrect award for honesty, though. He is not a liar, and that's what I like about him. But he does say some things that are insane, and some people say, you know, from his recent track record, that he shouldn't fight. He's too crazy.
No, I think he should fight. He should fight. He should prove that he's able to fight. For once, definitely get checked out. Because if he wants to eat people's ears again, you know, if he has delusions about biting people's ears off, his next fight should be on the Food Channel or something.
Well, he said to some fighter, was it you that he wanted to eat their children?
Yeah, I was really disappointed when he said that, but. You know, hopefully when we fight, you know, he's a vegetarian at that time.
He only wanted to eat your children. He wanted to kill all of us in the media because the Zoloft was wearing off that week.
Some athletes they're great at their sport, but when they come out of their sport, they don't know how to differentiate the two. When they're in the public eye, they're like an animal, but all of a sudden when they're in their sport, they're okay. So that may be his problem.
Right. He's not even okay in his sport, though. Let's get honest. No. He's not. I mean, there's been how many years since he's had a fight past the first or second round?
A long
time. He seems to do something to end that fight. If he doesn't win it, he bites or kicks or does something. I don't think he can fight more than 3 rounds. I really don't at this point.
No.
Not because he's not in shape. He just is impatient. He's just a weirdo.
The reason why he's impatient, most of his fights have been like ending in the first, second, third round. All of a sudden, when you go over that part, he starts to panic. Panic starts to set in, and then he feels that, oh, he's got to do something.
And it becomes like a job. What about Darryl Strawberry? Now, he's had his problems recently. I always defended Darryl. If he wanted to do cocaine and play baseball, why not?
The issue with him is more whether or not he's been given the chances that are set aside by the rules and has been given them and then repeated them. And then, you know, at some point there has to be some rules. If there's going to be rules set, then they have to be abided by.
But Strawberry's moved into a different category because he is sick. The cancer did recur, and that's just, that sets up a whole different set of things. He's not going to play baseball again.
Right.
But so he's now sort of out of the category that you can look at it as anything other than a Shakespearean tragic figure who was this great guy. And also, every guy I know who played alongside of him, either with the Mets or with the Yankees in the last few years, thinks of this guy as a great inspirational leader. Don't make the mistakes I've made. I have no control. Use me as an example of what not to do, and I give him credit for that. At least he's trying to keep other people from making the same mistakes that he's still actively making. Or maybe he's just trying to get more of the drugs for himself.
The problem is there's a lot of kids that look up to him, and the kind of effect that he's affecting other kids out there, they see him doing that, and then all of a sudden, is looked at as a hero.
Yeah, but we see what's happened to him, and his life his career is over at 39. He didn't hit 600 home runs. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. The things that could have happened to him didn't happen, the good ones, because of the drugs. And I think that message has gotten across pretty clearly.
Can you name more than a handful of athletes in any sport that would be good role models for kids nowadays? If they really, really.
This man is a good role model. This man is.
I said a handful.
Oh yeah. 100% of your active panel here.
Well, that's why we booked them.
That's right.
Well, if you look at the Dallas Mavericks, we have 3 national heroes. We have Eduardo Nájera, who's a huge hero in Mexico.
Never heard of him.
He's the first Mexican player ever drafted, first Mexican to start in an NBA game.
Why does that make him a hero?
Because basketball isn't a big sport in Mexico. It's a growing sport.
But why does that make you a hero?
He worked his way from without any opportunity. He created his own opportunities and took a dream that he had and made it happen. That is a hero.
He advanced his own self-interest, which is what athletes do all the time. That does not make them a hero. Hero has to involve some sort of sacrifice. Bob Dole lost an arm fighting for democracy. That makes you a hero.
You have to lose a limb to be a hero? I mean, you can just
why is that heroic? Why is Mark McGwire heroic? He's a hero. He's doing everything for himself. Why isn't a person who sets a goal and reaches that goal and sets an example for others who say, look, here's something it's only about self-interest. That is not.
Maybe it's not.
When you set a goal for yourself.
Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not.
No, really. It's not.
So this guy is playing for your team and making a lot of money for other people.
Yeah, maybe it's family. Maybe there's other things he believes in that are important.
He'd really rather be a librarian, but he's forcing himself to be a rich jock.
If you're going to bring in Bob Dole into this and the arm,
what about hero? The word hero has to have a meaning.
Then your motorized wheelchair golfer is your hero, is your sports hero right there. Look what he's overcome.
Why, just because he's handicapped and Bob Dole is handicapped?
That's right. That's
a pretty thin.
How do you know how he got in that motorized wheelchair? That could have been a tragic bus accident. You don't know how that happened.
Which would not make him a hero either.
He may have saved 33 people during it.
That would make him a hero.
Okay, fine. I don't know what we just concluded.
You're not equating hero with role model necessarily, though, because he mentioned with Darryl the role model. I don't necessarily think it's the same thing. I think that's where. I think that this guy may be looked upon by his village as a hero because he showed
a whole country
sacrifice to get away from what they did. But I think the point that he was making is that a lot of kids look at what we do on a regular basis, and whether we like it or not in the public eye, we have to have some sense of what we are depicting to those people watching us. I think,
but that attitude is not shared by a lot of your compatriots.
The beauty of sports, though, Bill, whether it's boxing, baseball, basketball, football, is that every person in this room...
You are a football player.
Yes.
And a rapper.
Well, I was a football player at Cornell, so nobody knew. So.
Every little kid, every little boy or girl can see themselves when they're shooting a basketball. They can see themselves when they see Shaquille O'Neal or Kobe Bryant, because they're shooting the ball, they're imagining themselves being something more. Right. When they're playing softball or baseball, they see themselves as a Todd Ziele. When they're boxing with their friends, they see themselves as a Lennox Lewis. And when they see those qualities in other people that they can look up for, they know that you can accomplish a lot in this world and in this life, and that makes somebody a great role model.
But that's
and
also a problem, is encouraging kids to think that they can be a professional athlete, when the truth is that an incredibly small percentage of them will ever reach that goal. So no kid should be encouraged that they can really be like Mike.
Bill, when I was a kid,
because they're not going to be Mike.
I read Jim Bouton's book when I was a kid, and it was about being a baseball player, and he had very few natural skills, and he fought and persevered, and I knew I was never going to be a baseball player. What I read in that book said, if you work at something, if you apply yourself and you try something, you can succeed whether or not you have natural physical...
Jim Bouton had natural skills. He threw a very, very hard fastball.
For 3 weeks, and then his arm went dead.
And then he had to throw a knuckleball.
Then he had to throw a knuckleball and scratch and claw and go into sportscasting, which was even worse.
And that's the story that they should tell kids. Okay, we will be back right after this. Thanksgiving. Go back to eating more, and we'll keep talking sports. Thank you, folks.